Ever wonder why a massive, well-funded corporate campaign can just suddenly hit a brick wall, even when it seems like you did absolutely everything right? Well, today we are unpacking exactly why that happens in this explainer. We're diving into the Linkonize stakeholder intelligence process, which is a genuinely fascinating methodology for decoding how influence actually works in the real world. We're going to explore how ditching those old gut feelings and moving toward a rigorous, data-driven strategy can totally transform your campaign outcomes and really protect your organization's biggest objective.
So right off the bat, we have to ask ourselves kind of a provocative question. Who actually influences the final decision? When a major policy initiative or a massive business strategy is on the line, we naturally tend to look straight at the politicians, the executives, or the officials holding the pen. But honestly, the people making the final call are rarely the most powerful people in the room. And realizing that is literally the foundation of every truly successful advocacy effort.
We so often focus our entire strategy on the visible target, those official decision makers. But the reality is actually a massive, complex, interconnected web of hidden influence. We're talking about industry groups, regulators, the media, and local community leaders who are all pulling strings in the background. Think about it. If you only pitch the mayor, but you completely ignore the key community leader that the mayor relies on for votes, well, you've missed the real driver of the outcome. You might win the meeting for sure, but you're going to lose the campaign. Here is our roadmap for today to help turn all that complexity into clarity. First, the hidden network of influence. Second, what stakeholder intelligence actually is. Third, the 6-step mapping process. Fourth, improving your campaign outcomes. And finally, the future of strategy. Okay, moving right into Section 1, the hidden network of influence. Let's look beyond those visible decision makers. You have to consider the broader ecosystem that actually shapes our policy and business environments. You've got your industry associations, advocacy groups, regulatory bodies, think tanks, journalists, and of course, investors. It's actually staggering how much money is wasted every single year lobbying the wrong people, just because organizations don't realize a proposal is molded by all of these different voices long before a vote is ever cast. Missing even one of these groups leaves you with massive blind spots, and that inevitably leads to really unexpected, costly roadblocks. So the trick is figuring out how to successfully navigate that massive ecosystem. Which brings us to Section 2. What is stakeholder intelligence? It's all about moving from assumptions to an evidence-driven strategy. So what exactly is this? Basically, stakeholder intelligence is the systematic process of identifying and analyzing the specific individuals and groups that can influence your objective. For decades, organizations just relied on a gut feeling, or maybe the personal Rolodex of a seasoned lobbyist to guess who held the power. But stakeholder intelligence ditches that guesswork entirely. Instead, this approach uses deep research, rigorous data analysis, and advanced network mapping to show you how influence actually functions on the ground. Ultimately, the goal boils down to a brilliantly simple mission: turn complexity into clarity and relationships into strategy. That's the true power of this methodology. By decoding the chaotic noise of all those competing interests, you empower your team to engage the exact right audiences with the exact right message at precisely the right time.
Let's dig into how it actually works in Section 3, the 6-step mapping process. This is the engine behind the Linkonize methodology.
The Linkonize methodology is built on 6 very precise steps, going from initial stakeholder identification all the way through to continuous monitoring. It's a highly structured workflow that's specifically designed to take scattered, overwhelming data and forge it into a clear, actionable roadmap. So let's break down exactly how you execute each of these steps. Step 1 is stakeholder identification. Look, before we can even begin to plan an outreach strategy, we have to identify absolutely everyone connected to the objective. We're casting a really wide net here, across government, industry, the media, and the community. The goal at this stage isn't to prioritize, it's total comprehensive visibility. Because you simply cannot strategize around a stakeholder you don't even know exists. You definitely don't want a niche grassroots advocacy group suddenly mobilizing and derailing your massive energy project at the 11th hour. Now, step 2 is where the magic really happens. Influence mapping transforms that giant, flat list of names into a dynamic, living map. We figure out who actually influences the decision makers, who's shaping public opinion, and who controls the key information channels. This is what moves us away from viewing stakeholders in isolation and allows us to pinpoint exactly who is pulling the hidden levers of power within the network.
That brings us to Step 3, power and interest analysis. Let's face it, your team has limited time and a limited budget, right? Not everyone on that sprawling map gets the same level of attention. By mapping a stakeholder's absolute influence against their specific degree of interest in your issue, you ensure your valuable resources are spent exactly where they will create maximum impact. It tells you exactly who to monitor, who to just keep satisfied, and who to manage really closely.
Next up is Step 4, Relationship Intelligence. Here, we are looking for the invisible strings that bind the network together. We're talking about things like shared board members, past industry collaborations, or even deep-rooted historical rivalries. Understanding these underlying connections often reveals hidden coalitions, opportunities that traditional, surface-level analysis completely misses. You might suddenly find out your biggest opponent actually shares a key financial backer with your strongest ally. Moving to Step 5, Strategic Engagement Planning. This is where the intelligence officially becomes action. You take all that meticulously mapped data and you craft highly targeted messaging frameworks. No more sending out generic one-size-fits-all press releases and just hoping for the best. Instead, you are building meaningful, evidence-based outreach strategies that are customized for the exact people you need to persuade.
And finally, Step 6 is ongoing monitoring. As we all know, public sentiment can shift on a dime based on a single news cycle. New influencers emerge literally overnight, and policy priorities are constantly in flux. Continuous monitoring ensures your strategy doesn't become obsolete the minute it's launched. It keeps your campaign responsive, agile, and firmly rooted in the current reality. Okay, let's look at Section 4, Improving Your Campaign Outcomes. What is the real-world payoff of decoding influence?
The translation from common campaign challenges to actual concrete outcomes here is incredible. If your team is constantly dealing with unexpected obstacles, this intelligence process seriously reduces that risk through early identification. Are you bleeding resources on ineffective lobbying? You're going to get improved performance for maximum impact. Generic outreach gets completely replaced by incredibly strong targeted engagement. And those risky assumption-based tactics, they're swapped out for better decision-making built on hard evidence. Every major vulnerability in traditional campaign planning is directly solved by applying this process.
And the absolute beauty of this methodology is its versatility. It isn't just for politicians or traditional lobbyists. The real-world applications are huge. Whether you're running complex public affairs campaigns, managing a sudden corporate reputation crisis, navigating regulatory hurdles, or building local community coalitions, the foundational principles are exactly the same. Mapping power networks consistently leads to stronger influence, period.
As we wrap up this explainer, let's head into our final section, the future of strategy and navigating a nonlinear world. The absolutely critical takeaway here is that in our hyper-connected world, influence is simply no longer linear. It's not just person A lobbying person B to pass a new rule anymore. Today, decisions are shaped by millions of overlapping, sometimes totally chaotic conversations happening across vast global networks. If your organization understands this web and understands that influence is driven by complex relationships, you gain a massive, almost unfair strategic advantage over competitors who are still playing by the old rules. Successful campaigns today have to be built on hard intelligence, not guesswork. Mapping power and actively analyzing those critical relationships delivers concrete, measurable results. By abandoning those old assumptions and fully embracing this data-driven visibility, you don't just participate in the conversation, you drive it. You protect your reputation, and you consistently secure your key objectives. Which brings us to a critical question for you to consider moving forward. Do you want to truly understand the stakeholders shaping your industry, your policy environment, or your reputation? Think deeply about your current blind spots for a second. Are you truly mapping the power in your industry, or are you just talking to the people you can easily see? It might be time to rethink those blind spots and uncover how influence really works. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.